Escapism through music is a little bit of a difficult topic to discuss because I think it hits very close to home for a lot of people, specifically from a mental health discussion point, and I think it's a very nuanced and complex topic compared to what a lot of people give it credit for. Everyone, whether they'd like to admit it or not, have some form of escapism in their life. It could be television, movies, video games, anime, comic books, or literally some activity that they do in real life, hiking or rock climbing or kayaking, going fishing. Everyone has some sort of pull that takes them into a different world to dissociate from like whatever is going on around them, to get some sort of serotonin in their life and give them a little bit of a boost. That's kind of what it comes down to. And you could call it hobbies most of the time, but if you really kind of dig deep into why people do hobbies, it's because it gives them something to occupy themselves that isn't whatever else they got going on. It's fun, it's enjoyable, it gives them some sort of purpose and something to look forward to. And I don't think that there is anything that is as universal of a language of escapism as music. And in this video, what I wanted to do is go over how music impacts mental health and escapism in music as a whole. I'm obviously a metal channel, I'm a metalhead, but I'm also going to go into this with the knowledge that I love a lot of different types of music, and a genre that I want to make a whole video essay about eventually is ambient music. I've made entire videos about parasocial relationships and how they form and how they can be very toxic to not only the audience, but specifically the musicians or celebrities that you idolize and pattern yourself after and form this really big level of idolatry towards, and why it can lead to a lot of very dangerous habits and vices within yourself, as well as pointing and projecting a lot of shit onto the people that you enjoy. But parasocial relationships don't just fall out of the sky. They don't appear out of thin air. They are something that happens over time because of an obsession with said thing. And from a musical standpoint, a lot of this comes down to people resonating and relating to the music that they listen to. No matter if this is metal or rock or literally any genre on the planet, there is no wrong answer or wrong genre or right or wrong way to feel the effect of music. It impacts our mental health deeply. And while there has been a lot of sort of psychoanalysis of if mental health is directly impacted by music specifically to elicit violence or bad acts, my opinion on it has always been if you have that predisposition, you have that predisposition, and music only gave you those tools and weapons, but you were going to find a reason or an out to do it anyway, because shitty people love to find justifications in just about anything, and music just happens to be a pretty accessible way to find that justification. It can be a positive or it can be a negative, depending on how it manifests. When you are in a very sad place, a lot of times people will turn to one of two things. Either they listen to very happy music to try to distract themselves and sort of trick their mind into feeling happier than they are. They want to feel an alternative to the emotions that are manifesting in them. Or, most notoriously, people will turn to sad music that reflects their specific feeling, or at least is based somewhat in what they are feeling. You're going through some sort of heartbreak, you listen to heartbreak music. You're going through some sort of anger, you listen to music that is angry. And most of the time, the best memories that people have with specific forms of music is a specific point in their life where they directly felt that memory sort of encapsulate them and bury themselves deep in their heads. A concept that I am very fascinated in and have studied to a great length, depersonalization and just derealization is a very deep and dark tunnel for a lot of people, and a lot more people go through it than are necessarily aware that they go through it. It can be very chronic, it can be very severe for people that feel disconnected from reality, and that's a whole nother story. But chances are, if you have ever had one of those moments where it is 3 a.m., you are sitting in a dark room listening to a piece of music or watching something that you really feel like gets you and you relate to, and you feel like you are on another plane of existence in the sense of you are disconnected from your surroundings, and you feel like you are just floating on thin air, zoned out, your eyelids are hazy, you are tired but can't sleep, the insomnia has kicked in, and you just feel so numb and so empty and so untethered to anything that might be a semblance of normal emotion, and the vessel that carries a lot of those emotions and harbors those feelings is the music that you are listening to. Now, no matter where we're talking about on the wheel, whether it be dissociation, depersonalization, derealization, which are all branches to the same tree, it is nothing to fuck around with. It's not uncommon for any random individual to feel a level of disassociation when it comes to watching a show that you get very engrossed in, read read a book that you get sucked into the world of, or just really sink into a good song for a while. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying as disassociation is always a bad thing if it is through like an art form or just enjoying something, but there is a very clear difference from when it is normal versus when it can be chronic or severely impact your mental health. And while this has obviously always existed, I see now more than ever when I look around and when I talk to people that are interested in different mediums, that are interested in different musical things, as becoming very consumed by it. Usually you can tell these types of people that maybe just don't have the best of life for one reason or another, whether their circumstances, environmental causes, whatever it may be. They live vicariously through what they are obsessed with and literally make their entire personality determinant on it, and their mood can increase or decrease based on something. And I don't think that any one thing on this earth should be able to have that sort of pull over you, especially when the thing in question isn't even something tangible or that you know. 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, you don't know who made what you are listening to. You don't know who made what you are watching, and you might be able to meet them someday, but they are not really going to care about you. I hate to burst a bubble, but they don't know who you are. I don't want anyone watching this video to think that I am speaking from a place of privilege of not quite understanding what I'm talking about. I don't just have disassociation, I have like severe depersonalization half the fucking time. I don't feel like a human half the time. I feel very airy, I feel like I'm walking on clouds, and I have to remind myself constantly that I am a real living human being. And I know that sounds crazy, but you haven't lived unless you look in the mirror and you truly do not recognize yourself. That's the true detachment, my friend. And I'd be lying if I said I'm not also talking from a place of understanding when it comes to music. My entire hyperfixation, if you can't fucking guess, over the 1,000 videos I've made over this channel over the years, I'm literally on a daily upload schedule right now. Most of the time, there have been many points in my life where my YouTube channel and or music has been the only thing keeping me fucking sane. But I can acknowledge and differentiate the fact that that tether to reality should not be the end-all be-all, but with that being said, a lot of times it's uncontrollable because it's easy to sink into some sort of escapism, and music is one of the biggest things that can give you that serotonin, that dopamine, or activate the neurons to make those emotions work. And while it is healthy and in and of itself cannot necessarily do anything bad to you, music can be an addiction. And that sounds fucking crazy, but if you think of most vices, you think of something that has a direct bad effect on you: smoking, drinking. Now, there are plenty of things we just turn a blind eye to being unhealthy, but we do them anyway. But music has this sort of psychological effect to people that become so enveloped in it that it dictates their entire day-to-day, and their mood can stabilize or destabilize based on it. And having that sort of instability in your mood that is so drawn to one specific thing is never a good thing. Now, music is obviously one of the most healthy ways to let out those emotions, especially if you are doing it in a healthy way and you understand the boundaries of what you can handle and what you can't in terms of what you're listening to. And if it is a way that prevents you from doing other things in your life that are self-destructive, that is fantastic. But the dangers of that escapism is sometimes something that is difficult to ascertain, that is difficult to look in the eye, that is difficult to face, and this can go for any sort of toxic obsession that you have with any form of media, even if it's not a parasocial relationship, if it's a TV show, if it's a movie. If you feel like you have ended a TV show or a movie and you feel a sense of fucking loss and deep sadness, not because you enjoyed the movie and it's over, but because you don't have something to fill that void, you might have to look a little bit inward and do some introspection and ask yourself, oh my God, am I okay? Is my mental health okay? If the vacuum of your mind doesn't have something that can fill the void of pain or misery or whatever the fuck you're feeling, anxiety, compartmentalization, if suddenly that is replaced with a sense of urgency and abrupt sadness or anger or not knowing what to do, this lost feeling when you're done listening to a great album or a good movie or watching a good TV show, that is very indicative that it has crossed the line into becoming a replacement for the natural emotions and purpose that you should be feeling in your life. And that's when you have to examine yourself a little bit and see if you need a better support system, if you need a better person in your life to be there for you, if you need to have conversations with your friends or your family, or if you need to change what you are doing in your life, because that sort of toxic mentality is not worthwhile to yourself. You are more deserving of being in control of yourself and not having these artificial things that are outside of you controlling your mood and being the only thing keeping you going. There is a big difference between enjoying something, looking forward to something, and it having a very important impact on your life. That is the very reason that art exists in the first place, no matter what it is. But if it is the only thing that is keeping you going, and if it is the only thing you are looking forward to, and if you feel a sense of hopelessness and desolation if it is not present in your life, that is something that is just very bad. And like I said, you deserve better, and you're worthwhile of being in more control of yourself and your emotions than that, either therapeutically or with medication or support system, or just finding some more self-love. And I would be the first to say, I know it's the worst thing in the world to tell an anxious person, stop being so worried, or tell a depressed person, stop being so sad. But there has to be little incremental steps that set you on a better road to not be so held under the thralls of these artificial things around you. Oftentimes when you see people say, this piece of music saved my life, you're the only reason I'm here. Yeah, it's easy to chalk that up to being an over-exaggeration, but I feel like if you could pick the brains of a lot of the people that said that, they most likely were going through that specific thing. And emotions are obviously on a pretty big spectrum. You can cry your fucking eyes out to music, or you can feel completely desolate and empty, and that's the escapism. While some people feel fully realized because of the music that they listen to, there is a whole nother side of things where you completely turn yourself off while you are taking in a media. Closing out the world around you, closing the curtains, making sure all the drapes are gone, the doors are locked, you are by yourself, and you are accepting the music into you. Now, the slippery slope, the tricky part of escapism through a musical format is the issue of reaffirming the things that you are feeling. And this is the thing that no real psychoanalysis can ever be able to perfectly get down to a T, because this is a very personal and person-by-person thing. And before I go into that, I should state that music can and always will be a very good way to let out negative emotion or positive emotion. If you can feel something so strongly from a piece of music that it keeps you away from self-harming, from suicidal ideation, from substance abuse, whatever it may be, or just helps you get through that day when things are dark, more power to you, and I am happy you are here, very much so. Mental health is like the one thing that means the absolute most to me, and I wouldn't fuck with it at all, and whatever your journey is your journey, and no one can take that away from you. But I think that there is a pretty complex discussion to be had about the reaffirmation of the negative emotions to begin with. There is the concept of echo chambers. You are only hearing the exact thing that you agree with, and echo chambers are usually used to describe political discourse or political affiliation, to where you only hear things that agree with you, and so you don't think anything doesn't agree with you, or alternatively, you simply want to turn that off, you want to pull the lever, and you only want to hear the things that think the world works the way that it does. But I think that you can apply echo chambers to your musical diet just as easily, especially if you are on the more depressive side, anxious side, if you are using music solely as a form of escapism, if you aren't just comfort listening, if you truly need music in your life to get through the day, that's when it can become a little bit difficult to describe and ascertain whether it helps you or hurts you. Because on one side, yeah, it's probably helping you get through some rough shit and some rough patches in your life. But alternatively, I think that it also can lead you down a road of reaffirming the negative emotions you are feeling, either by digging out the shit that you compartmentalize, or instead of helping you decompress, continuously remind you of the things that you are feeling in the first place, because you are not getting any external stimulus that is bridging the gap between the negative emotions and the reality of your situation, constantly giving you this feeling of, oh God, bringing you closer and closer to that negativity. And it is a creeping effect, it's a lingering effect, it's a looming effect. And a lot of times you don't really realize it until you're that deep into it, until you're sunk back into a chair listening to a really sad song, and you realize you're 3 albums in and you feel no better than before, and in fact you just feel this lonesome, depressive feeling, and when you go to sleep, you just feel like a fucking zombie. I think sad music oftentimes has a form of zombifying the people that listen to it, and I think that this is absolutely true of certain very sad genres like depressive suicidal black metal or funeral doom metal, where I really feel like that could have a psychological effect on the listener if that is the only thing that you are listening to day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year. I know that it's not something you are going to notice in the same way that you don't notice if your hair changes over time, or if something's changing as you age, or if maybe you are getting more unhealthy and don't realize it, or if you're gaining weight slowly but surely. You don't realize that it is happening to you until it is too far gone to realize. And I feel like a lot of the people I talk to that listen to very, very sad music continuously oftentimes are using it as sort of a scapegoat to project a lot of their emotions into, but they're not really gaining what they gained initially from it. If you can separate the negativity of the music with the music itself and just enjoy it as an art form, that's one thing. But if the only thing you are ingesting is this negative energy and manifestation is a thing that I fucking believe in. Now don't worry, I'm not some fucking, guru of astrology and crystals. I'm not sitting here rubbing like rose quartz together. I'm not one of those, but I definitely believe that in an objective way, from a psychological standpoint, manifestation is a very big deal, and energy is a very big deal. And if you are surrounded with negative emotions constantly, negative environments, negative music, that is going to weigh your spirit down and anchor you down, whether you realize it or not. Because initially when you first get into that type of music, it's probably helping you tremendously on a road to recovery. But if you continue to get lost in that as your only form of escape, you can really heavily disassociate from what you are listening to. Just be careful, take care of yourself, and remember what you're listening to, and don't get so far gone that you can't come back. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.